Careers. Well, we all hope to have one. Many of you are training for one right now or currently have a healthcare career. In this lecture, we're going to talk a little bit about career planning, which I think is super essential. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do their career. So, we're going to talk about some ideas about career planning and just kind of career discussions in general. Now, I will make this one caveat for today's lecture. These are not answers. These are just suggestions, just some ideas for you to think about, things that resonated with me and with other individuals. You will have to make your own path. And this is really a discussion to help you think about making your own path for your career. So keep that in mind. There's probably other ideas that you do that I haven't talked about in this lecture, and that is great. But definitely, use these ideas as seeds, as kernels to maybe explore further possibilities in career planning. All right, well, let's take a look at what we have here, where we move my picture all together and kind of go through some of the basics of career planning. And the first one is to get it scheduled. Make sure you're doing this every year. I would say wait no longer than a year to do your career planning. Pick a normal month. Maybe it's kind of a New Year's celebration thing, or maybe it's something you do in the middle of summer. I don't know. You pick a time that works for you, but make it regular and make it no longer than a year where you're going to sit down and you're going to, spend a few hours. Maybe you go to the library for 4 hours. You go to one of those study rooms they have at the public library, shut everything out, and just focus on this. You're going to map out your path since your last career planning session. What did you do? What worked? What didn't work? Make a realistic, kind of assessment of what you've done. Maybe you didn't do anything. That's fine. Write it down. First thing is looking at the person in the mirror, making sure that you have a clear understanding of what you did. This is only for you. No one else is grading this or seeing this, so you can be brutally honest with yourself. But make an assessment, map your path since your last career planning session and those things that you did and didn't do, kind of those action steps that you may have generated from your last career planning session that you did with yourself. Reflect on your likes and dislikes and needs and wants in this next bullet point. What does that mean? Well, what do you like doing? What do you don't like doing? That can be with your career. It could be even things that impact your career. And what are your needs and wants? What do you want maybe from your profession, from your career? Financially, what do you need? That's part of it. To be honest, you have to be honest with yourself, and that we have many of us have we fall into careers sometimes by choice, more often than not, though, by happenstance. And those careers provide income for ourselves and our family, and we may not enjoy those careers. That's the sad part of human existence. Sometimes you find yourself in a career that financially takes care of things, but then maybe spiritually and emotionally doesn't take care of things. How can you shift that course maybe just a little bit? Most of us don't have the luxury of just saying, "Oh, I hate my job. I want to quit and try something new altogether." We have mortgages to pay, we have families to take care of, and that's not something that we can generally do. But maybe you can make some shifts in that in your career that brings more align with your likes, dislikes, needs, and wants. So reflect on those, record those down. Examine your pastimes and hobbies. Now, this may seem kind of odd, but when I heard other people doing this, I said, well, that makes absolutely perfect sense. Those things that you do, those hobbies and pastimes that you do voluntarily are things that you enjoy. How can those be incorporated into some of this career planning? If you're enjoying something, how can that, maybe translate into your overall career? Think about that. Some people end up making a career out of their hobbies. Isn't that great? Now, those are the lucky few. I don't want to oversell that. But if you can somehow maybe interject some of those things that energize you with those pastimes and hobbies that you can bring into your career, that will make your career that much more rewarding for you. Make note of your past accomplishments. Definitely pat yourself on the back on what you've done. That can show just that record of achievement does help. So make sure that you make note of that and record that down. Make sure you're recording those past accomplishments down. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. Now look beyond your current job for transferable skills. Now this is one that we all struggle with. And what does it mean? Let me explain what it means. Look beyond your current job for transferable skills. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, I am the poster child for that. I have had three pretty distinct careers that would not necessarily seem that connected. But when you look at the skill set that was transferable in them, they made perfect sense. So, for example, in this class, I've talked about that I had worked in banking, okay, for many years. I had also worked in a completely unrelated area in healthcare as a medical imaging professional. Okay, those two were unrelated somehow. But in my professional career in banking, I did a lot of corporate training and program development. I was able to use that skill with my healthcare knowledge then to build healthcare education programs, which then yielded me a job here at Mercy College, and 8 years later, designed 3 or 4 educational programs here at the college, and I call back on those skills that I learned in my banking corporate environment to build programs. So for me, it kind of taking those skills that maybe seem unrelated, but looking how they can be used in other professions. So make an inventory of those skills, those transferable skills. And if you see a job that maybe a career that you're interested in, that you can use that discussion around those skills maybe to get yourself a new job someday that's in a completely different area. So again, look at those transferable skills that you may have that can flow into other industries. I'll give a classic example too. If you're kind of like wondering, oh, Chris, what does that even mean? Let's say you're a nurse or you're a healthcare professional. That body of knowledge can be used in many different areas. So it's not necessarily frontline practitioner. We have had individuals who have been, let's say, in medical imaging or in nursing, or I'll pick on my wife, for example. She is a nurse, still is a nurse, but hasn't practiced for 20 years. But she used that body of knowledge. Her transferable skill set was she was in diabetes educator, a nurse diabetes educator. So she would educate patients about eating right and how to do their injections and take their medications and all that stuff. Okay. Well, she used that transferable skill set to work for a drug company, a major drug company, and she was a pharmaceutical representative. Seems kind of unrelated from nursing to going out and basically selling drugs. But with that skill set, that knowledge of diabetes, and the drug that she was selling was a diabetes drug, worked out great. So think about it like that. Maybe it's working, for if you're a medical imager, for example, who best to sell a CT scanner or an MRI scanner, which are multi-million dollar sales, by the way, than a medical imager? They can speak to speak and talk the talk with the customers that are actually going to use that. So kind of think about the bigger picture. All right, I'll move on from transferable skill set. Hopefully you've got the ideas there. This next one is super important. Review career and job trends. Maybe you only do this every year. That's great. At least do it once a year. You want to take a look at what's going on in your industry. If it's a particular niche in healthcare, what is going on in that healthcare? What are the trends? Are those trends a direct benefit to you or a threat to your existence? Here's an example. Many years ago, let's say, it would have been 30, 40 years ago, there was a whole career centered around developing x-rays in a dark room. People had a lifetime career in developing x-rays in dark rooms. We don't do that anymore, haven't done it in 30 years. Those that profession was basically a dinosaur. And if you were able to see kind of how imaging was changing, medical imaging was changing, you'd have realized, hey, I need to get out of this film developing part and I need to maybe go into digital and understand digital imaging because I want to be that guy because this thing is not going to last too much longer. So look for those meteors, that are going to come in and make you extinct. Uh, Also look for those opportunities that you can shift your career and maybe be on the forefront of something that's happening, and that can, if you're that perceived expert in that new area, that could lead to some nice advancements for you. So take some time to review career and job trends. How do you do that? Well, you search on the internet. That's easy. Look on the internet. Google your job. For me, I think it's easiest to subscribe to industry publications that fit into your particular professional niche. I get 3 of them that come to my door every month. Now, do I read them all? I can't read them all. I don't have time, but I do read some of them and I scan through them and then just kind of absorbs in on these trends. So that's a great way for me to do it. And many of these industry magazines are free. You just sign up. They want to send you the stuff. So take a look at that. For industry magazines, I think that kind of for your particular niche in your profession, there's usually 2 or 3 industry magazines that are focused on various sections of healthcare or any profession really, and that will really help you keep abreast of these job trends. You can see things coming up. Also, you can find opportunities too, which is kind of great. You can flip through there, and let's say you're looking at, whatever magazine it is, and then obviously there's ads all over the place. Look at who's doing those ads, and go to their job boards and see what kind of jobs they have. That can really open your eyes. So I've been able to list, 20 different employers just by flipping through a trade magazine and opening my eyes to some of these companies that normally, you're not going to see in your day-to-day operations as you're working as a healthcare provider. You might see it if you take that medication or look at that piece of equipment and see where it was made, you might see that. But which I do recommend that you look at that. And those can be other employers that you add to your horizon of possible opportunities. Okay, enough about reviewing career and job trends. Then you want to set those career and job goals. What do I want to do in the next year? What do I want to do in the next 3? What do I want to do in the next 5? The process of just setting the goal somehow, magically, don't know how. Well, I think I kind of do know how. It makes you a little bit more of a forward thinker. You may not reach that goal, okay? And to be realistic, to say that your 5-year goal, you're going to write it down. You may not reach it. You may surpass it, or you may go in a completely different direction. But just the act of writing down that 1, 3, and 5-year goal really changes your perception on how you move forward with your career. Now, you might end up in that direction. That's great. Um, but do set those career and job goals. So career is kind of the big picture, where you want to see yourself. I would say that's more that 3 to 5 year range. The job is kind of what you're doing currently. That might be this year I want to be XYZ. So that probably be more like the 1-year goals. And then the career is really more of those, I'd say, mid to long-term goals, those 3 to 5 year goals. But set them, go for them, reach them. Again, wonderful opportunities may come knocking on your shoulder that you never anticipated. But again, just that ability to be a forward thinker and having those goals it changes your daily actions. It's actually kind of magical. So do that. Explore new education and training opportunities. Now, obviously, education, check. You're in this class and you're doing education, so that's fantastic. Look at also other outside training opportunities within your profession. Okay, never. It's very cliched, but you're never going to stop learning. Now, it may be formal education, achieving more degrees, whether you decide to go for a bachelor's or a master's degree or even a terminal degree like a PhD or a doctorate. Or it may be training. I'm not one of these people who I believe in training. I think it's fantastic, and I believe also strongly encourage additional professional certifications. There are all kinds of professional certifications out there for whatever niche that you're in: nursing, rad tech, healthcare administration. I mean, there's all kinds of little, recognized national. You want to make sure you're doing the nationally recognized certification that you can achieve often through training. It may be seminar training, maybe online training, and then you want to look at testing. If a certification must, in my case, in my belief, is that most certifications that are valuable come through some sort of testing requirement. The ones that don't come through testing, I'd be a little leery of. So, and mostly industry is a little leery of those ones as well. So make sure you're looking for those nice, solid additional professional certifications. The more alphabet soup that you can put behind your name, the better. That shows an employer that you have done something and you have a demonstrable outcome of achievement. That's what people want to see. It's not so much GPA. I'll be honest with you. They really don't care about GPA. They care about that demonstrable achievement. Do you have that associate's degree? Do you have that bachelor's degree? Do you have those professional certifications behind your name? RN, RT, CT, RCA, CHP. Do you have those certifications behind your name? That's what they want to see. All right, and then lastly, research further career and job advancement opportunities. I hinted about that a little bit earlier when I talked about looking at those professional trade magazines for new jobs, new career opportunities. But make this absolutely regular for you. Making note of those possible career areas and where you might want to advance your career. Google it. It's wonderful. We have so much information at our fingertips now. It is amazing. So, you can look up those advancement opportunities. Talk to your boss. Talk to your supervisor. Let them know, hey, I'm interested in advancing in my profession. Let's talk about what that might look like here at XYZ, whatever your organization is. So take a look at those. Take some time to research those. How you're going to further your career and your opportunities, your advancement opportunities. If you find that your career is in a dead end, that there really are no advancement opportunities, that might also be a very important sign. Now, that's pretty rare that's going to happen. Usually, that career, you may be at the pinnacle of a particular type of career, but that doesn't mean that you don't have transferable skills that could move you forward. So I'll pick one, for example, in an area that we deal with here, like say phlebotomy. You're a phlebotomist, and maybe you're already the senior phlebotomist. You're kind of the manager, the supervisor of the area, but that doesn't mean you couldn't be the director. Maybe you're director of diagnostic services, which includes phlebotomy and other testing uh, other testing areas, other diagnostic testing areas. So there is that possibility for advancement. But how do I get to be that director of diagnostic services? Well, you want to look at it. Look at those job descriptions. Talk to your boss. Look at your job websites. Maybe it says, associate's degree required or bachelor's degree required. Then you're going to map out how I'm going to get there. That might mean going back to school and picking up an additional degree. But at least you know how that's going to happen. And you've kind of laid it out because you've done your research on furthering your career and your advancement opportunities. All right, so those are some bullet points on kind of the nuts and bolts of career planning. This next side over here, I'm going to talk more on this side right over here. We're going to talk a little bit about some, some concrete things just to go away with. And before the end of the lecture, I am going to give you 20 things that you can, so stay tuned. Don't give up on me. 20 things that require zero talent that make you an outstanding employee. So stay tuned for that. But let's talk about some really concrete things that I'd like you to think about. First one is have an updated CV, curriculum vitae or resume, same thing essentially. Each industry calls it something different. Know what your industry calls it. A lot of healthcare um, areas call it a CV. Typically, business calls it a resume, but roughly the same thing. Okay, but have it updated and ready to go whenever you do something. When you do something at work, maybe you sat on a committee or you were involved in a peer interview for, a XYZ individual. You were involved in some improvement project or volunteer activity. Update it on your resume right away. Update that CV right away with those things. That will also help you with your annual review cycle at work. So you've kind of are updating and recording these things, because you'll forget. You'll forget. You'll be sitting at the end of the year and you'll forget about all the things that you've done at work. Um, and having that CV kind of on your computer, right handy, even on your mobile device, so you can go ahead and record your achievements as you've done them, so you can capture them and right away. So make sure you have that updated CV resume. So one, it's going to help you with your own personal annual review cycles. And two, when that opportunity comes open that you never expected, you're not going, wait a second, I got to get my resume together and it's going to take me 2 weeks. You're like, no problem. I'll send that to you by the end of the day. You can, and that will impress somebody dramatically. So have that resume and CV ready to go. That is absolutely critical. No matter what you do, if you go away with anything from this lecture, that is the number one thing that will help you out with your career. The second one is review job sites regularly. So maybe it's Indeed, which is a big job site. There are other ones that may be oriented to your profession. Um, Review them regularly for opportunities. But wait a minute, Chris, I'm not interested about leaving where I'm working. I love it. Interview job sites regularly. Here's why. You never know what opportunity it may come. You may love your current job. It may be the best thing in the world, but something could appear that you never dreamed on that changes your whole perception and something that you may want to do. Remember this too. Here's kind of the dark side. You may love your job. It may be the best thing ever. But on any given Friday, your employer may go through a downsizing event. And no matter how much your employer loves you and you love your employer, that could happen to any one of us. So you do need to be proactive in today's environment. The days of getting lifetime employment are long gone. Been gone for 30 years. Those are gone. So you need to be kind of the master of your own ship when it comes to this, and having those job sites reviewed, just periodically. What you can set up even these automated systems that come up on a lot of these job sites. So when something of interest is posted to the job site, it shows up in your email or you get a text message. So I would recommend that. That's a good thing to. You may not do anything on it. That's fine too. Okay, but being aware, again, changes your mindset a little bit, makes you a little bit more of a forward thinker with some of these opportunities that may come up. This other one I think is also very critical is join professional organizations. So whatever your thing is, whatever your area of healthcare is, join those professional organizations. Um, you may want to you may have the time to be a really active member. That's great. Or you could just join and kind of be in tune with the information that they're pushing out, usually through email newsletters. Maybe they have again, a publication that they do. This is going to show your commitment to your profession from an employer standpoint. It really shows that you are a professional in what you are doing. So, and it's not just a job that you're a non-professional laborer, that you are a professional and could yield to other opportunities. So, and many professional organizations are often advocates for you in kind of the national scheme of things versus they're usually, again, an advocate for you, the individual, in your profession. So maybe it might be through legislation on a national and even local level. They could be working on that. So those are kind of nice. Someone that's kind of looking out for your interests within your career. The next one is network, network, network. Now, for some of us that are a little bit introverted, like myself, this can be kind of difficult, but you got to do it. You have to network. And quite frankly, people are expecting it, So don't be bashful. If anybody asks me, I'm perfectly happy to network with them. That's great. I feel actually kind of honored when they ask me. So make sure that you are networking. Um, it it is so true, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. Sometimes it's who you know and not what you know. So and we'll talk a little bit about some of these soft skills in a moment. But individuals who like, hey, she's a really great person. I've known her for a few years. She's really dependable. I really love her energy. Yeah, let's hire her. And she reached out to me the other day, and she's available for hire. That's the kind of conversations that happen. And you may not even see the job, because it's gone to that person who networked and they got the job. Nothing wrong with that. If that's the game, you got to know the game, and you got to be a quality individual so that when that you're using your network, that your network works for you and not against you. Remember, there is a network that can work against you. So if you have a bad reputation, and we'll talk about some of these soft skills in a moment, that especially within healthcare, that can propagate through the informal network of healthcare because they're usually pretty small communities within the areas that we work. And that can be pretty bad for you. So make sure that you're using the networks to your advantage. LinkedIn, set up a LinkedIn account. Make sure you update it regularly. Maybe you do that during your annual career planning event. It's a great way, it's an easy way for networking because it's built for professional networking. And sometimes headhunters, people that are looking to hire people, may find you and you get an email all of a sudden. Maybe they noticed that you had some of these professional certifications that I was talking about, and they contact you because you have everything that they're looking for. So that can happen through LinkedIn. Actually, I hire people through LinkedIn at the college. I look for people like with certain professional certifications to teach our courses, and I will often reach out to them because of a very specific skill set sometimes. So yes, so use LinkedIn. Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. It's a great tool. Practice the soft skills. Soft skills, and again, they're kind of on this next page after this. We'll talk about those soft skills, but that is the number one killer of careers is individuals who are not good in soft skills. You might be technically great, but if you are not friendly to work with, forget about it. You're not gonna make it. So practice the soft skills. You can always Google, kind of explore what those mean, but the soft skills are the biggest detriment to individuals in their career. Again, they may be technically great, they may be brilliant, they may be super smart, they might even be hardworking, but if they lack some of the soft skills, uh, it will destroy their career. Lynda.com. I would encourage you. This goes with like constant learning. So let's say some of these soft skills and you want to brush up on them. Go to lynda.com. They're actually owned by LinkedIn, which is now owned by Microsoft. Microsoft owns that entire chain now. And lynda.com has a lot of training programs for career development and planning, and a lot of them will focus on some of these soft skills, and actually, all over the spectrum. Some very hard skill, education in there, but some soft skill education in there. Leadership, teamwork, uh, even interviewing skills. All kinds of things are covered on lynda.com. Now, Lynda does cost $25 a month, but if you are a member of a public library, almost every public library in the country is covered. You can get that for free. So, for example, in Northwest Ohio, Lucas County Public Library has it free. I know in the Youngstown area in Ohio has it. Almost all over the country, these major libraries have partnered with Lynda to offer their patrons free access to this website. It is great. I was paying 25 bucks a month, and then our local library switched. I now save $25 a month and have access to all that wonderful content. Okay, next one, communication. Make sure you're a good communicator, both verbally and written. So many people are poor communicators, and it will limit their career progression. Maybe you need some brush up on those verbal and written. There's tons of things out there for you. Again, lynda.com has a ton. There's, go to Amazon. There's all kinds of books on professional communication out there that can help you. But make sure you are proficient in those areas. Technology skills. Here's another killer of careers. I'm not good with computers. I don't understand computers. Uh, you don't want to say that. Now, you might not be good with computers, but you can brush up, and it doesn't take long. Make sure that you have some basic technology skills, that you understand Microsoft Office, the basic functions of Office, of PowerPoint, of Word, of Excel. Maybe you throw in a couple of other things in there too. That you have those basic technology skills. Be familiar with how your phone works. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they wanted to fax something. So right there, that was like, wow. I don't think I've faxed in maybe 10 years, maybe 7 years. I haven't faxed in a long time. But if I needed to fax, I've got an app on my phone that can fax. But this person was looking for a fax machine. I sarcastically held up my phone and go like, "You got one of these?" Yeah. Well, there's like 300 apps out there that will fax something for you in a digital image. So, um, have some basic technological skills. Stay current with your mobile device and how that works. Stay current with some basic, internet functions, search functions, again, productivity functions such as Office, Outlook. Know how to use an email client to manage your email, how to use an electronic calendar of some sort. So stay current on that. There's nothing worse than someone saying they're not up on that, and it doesn't take too much. And it permeates so much of our life anyway that it's pretty easy to stay current in that area. This next one is develop a personal brand. So, what does that mean? That means whatever you are, whatever you do, that you sort of, kind of brand yourself. Hey, I am the expert nurse in NICU. That is my thing. I am the NICU nurse. That is what I'm into. I join my professional organizations. I help my unit, develop XYZ for whatever, for patient care in the NICU. Maybe that's your thing. Develop that brand and sort of hone it, if you will, because as a message. Because when you go out to promote yourself, you have to kind of market yourself, and having your brand kind of conceptualized in 1 to 2 sentences, that's what you want to do. Some people even go as far as with that personal branding you can actually go out and hire people to kind of shape your brand. But it's sort of again what you do professionally. And is it image and spin? Yeah, it's image. It's really about image and kind of spinning it in a package that people can digest quickly that are looking at you. Okay. But LinkedIn is kind of part of that. Have your LinkedIn profile. By the way, with LinkedIn, make sure your picture is professional. That has killed careers too. A nice professional headshot in your LinkedIn. Okay, so make sure you've got that. Some people even have professional websites about their brand, what they do, samples of their work. Maybe their CV is also located on their personal web page. Again, you can Google this and find out some interesting ways for branding. But it's an interesting concept. Maybe not for everybody. It can be a little bit. It's a little bit of a bigger picture thing, but I think it's interesting, and I wanted to suggest that to the group. Become an expert. This next one, become an expert or an outlier. Now, there was a book by Malcolm uh, Gladwell, and it was called Outliers. Great book. Read it if you can. And in that book, he said it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. And anything takes about a certain given number of time of practice to become an expert in that area. And for the most part, that's true, I believe. you do have to become an expert in an area. So, through the nature of your work, you may already be that expert, but make sure that's promoted and that you are able to make other people understand that that's what you're an expert in. Okay? And when you're perceived as the expert, you're the go-to individual. If you're not an expert, become one. Practice, learn, achieve those professional certifications if that's necessary. Uh, Even though that expertise shows that you have the ability to understand material and demonstrate that. That's again critical for employers. So even though that expertise may be one of these areas that not necessarily a transferable skill, the exercise of expertise, of becoming an expert, is a transferable skill. So become that expert, become that outlier, that person that's not part of the crowd, and read that book, Outliers. It's a great read. Doesn't take long. Be aware of image and perception. So unfortunately, image and perception is a big part of human interaction. Use that if you can to your advantage. Remember that network, I say, can work for you or can work against you. So be aware of how you are seen by others, and image and perception, and manage that image and perception. Okay, groom it if you have to. Again, even something from LinkedIn. I've seen horrible LinkedIn pictures put on there. And I've been sitting in meeting rooms where we have passed on individuals based on an unprofessional glamour shot type picture on their LinkedIn profile. So if you don't remember glamour shots, it was where you could get dressed up in all kinds of clothing and take these kind of funky pictures. Don't be funny. Don't be cutesy. On some things. So be aware of how image and perception can work for you or could work against you. So, and again, I want you to use it for your obviously for your own advancement. Negotiation skills. This is something that's difficult for some individuals. I'll be honest, for myself, this has always been difficult, but it's something I've worked at. Understanding what these areas are, these weaknesses, and addressing them again with wide open eyes, like I talked about at the very beginning. Kind of a realistic look in the mirror. But become a good negotiator. I've seen so many individuals advance because simply they've asked for it. They've asked for the extra money. They've asked for the position. Um, they didn't accept the first offer. Hey, I'm great. I'm worth more than that. If you want me, you're going to have to pay XYZ more. So practice those negotiation skills. Not always practical sometimes, but if you even were able to negotiate a little bit more over time, the benefits from a financial standpoint over a lifetime career can be quite substantial. So practice those negotiation skills. Again, a ton of books out there. You can watch, lynda.com videos on negotiations. Are all ways to learn how to be a better negotiator. Becoming a practice critical thinking and problem solving skills. That may sound kind of ridiculous, but we'll have people who cannot, how do I do this? Well, did you Google it? Did you watch some YouTube videos? Do you know how to solve some problems without me spoon feeding you the answers? And especially today, there's so many resources available within seconds. You know, I and I'll just go to my own. I'm perceived as the tech guru in the family. Now, I'm not a tech guru, but what I do is when someone says, "Oh, my computer's doing XYZ," I Google the error message. I Google the error message, and I'm able to probably find a dozen videos on how to fix the problem. So, you know, um, understanding some basic, critical thinking and problem solving skills. Again, there's a lot of wonderful resources that can help you critically think and problem solve. I will say that, in life, you may not always get the right answer, but if you get the right answer at least 51% of the time, you're making forward progress. That's my goal, at least 51%. I know I'm at least making some steps forward eventually over time. And that's what you want to be. You're not always going to have the right answer with some of this critical thinking and problem solving and making choices. But if you're more right than wrong over time, it will benefit you. And then lastly, well, on these, I'm going to say practice self improvement. So, not to be too preachy, but go out, read some of these books on self-improvement or watch some videos. Now, some of them are going to seem hokey, and some of them are going to seem, obvious to you, but you might glean a few nuggets of information out of them. But the biggest thing for me is not so much the contents. I do pick up some nuggets, of things that I want to do, but it's the practice of doing that. It somehow changes your mindset. Like I said earlier, in the very beginning, having this forward thinking, having this how can I do it better approach to things changes your whole picture on how you approach your career and your professional life and even some of your personal life as well. So, pick up some self-improvement books. You can Google like the top 10 self-improvement books that have been, the past 10 years or what have you. Watch a few videos. Again, kind of look at them and just enjoy it, and kind of like brain candy, enjoy it a little bit, and maybe you kind of develop your own list of what you want to do as far as your self-improvement practices. But again, I think it's more of a perceptual change that seeps in over time as you constantly look to improve. So again, I go back to my example. I'm constantly trying to reorganize things better. So it's kind of a running joke, what organization method am I using this year? So, but I never give up. So I always try to organize. Sometimes I use, no, I'm right now, my current thing is using brightly colored index cards to organize stuff. A couple years ago, I was really into clipboards. Now I'm kind of into these index cards with clipboards attached. So, um, but kind of don't give up. Keep trying to work on that. And that exercise of continually trying to self improve eventually gets you to improve, and again changes your whole mindset. All right. That is everything we're going to have on this slide. Now, I like you to stay tuned for lecture 2, and that promised lecture on 20 things that require zero talent that most employers are dying to look for in employees that they just want to promote crazily. So I'd like you to go ahead and please watch our next lecture on those zero talent items.